Welcome to Willow Healing Matters, the podcast. We are so excited to have you joining us on this journey where we explore different ways to empower your soul, whether it's healing in your kitchen or all the way up in the corporate world. Come with us as we look into different ways to heal your mind, body, and soul. My virtual obsession, my romantic thriller, is now available on Amazon and other online retailers. This book explores the intersection of loneliness, love, and how chasing perfection through technology can lead to fantasy and reality colliding. My virtual obsession out now. Hey everyone, it's Catherine Crestani with another episode of Willow Healing Matters, and today I am joined by Marvin Wilkerson. So he is a spiritual astrologer, a hypnotherapist, and a neurological programmer dedicated to helping people understand and heal the deeper layers of their consciousness. Over the past 3 decades, he's guided clients to uncover their karmic patterns, release emotional blocks, and align with their true spiritual essence. So a big welcome to the show, Marvin.
Well, thank you for having me.
I actually have a question straight away. What does it mean that you're a neurological programmer? What does that involve?
Well, basically, you have neurotransmitters in your brain, and they connect to other parts of the brain. And when there's a conflict that connection is causing, well, then you have to get the brain to see another way to connect to another point. So so in layman's terms, it's just a different perspective of anything in life that could be causing a conflict or causing something to give you a physical problem, psychological problem, emotional problem. So whatever that neurotransmitter is connected to one point and connected to another point, you know that point is not the fix. So the fix has to be generated through a visual from the subconscious that offers an alternative. So that might explain it a little bit better.
So is it very similar to neuroplasticity? Like if when you have a brain trauma, the brain will create new
yes. I mean,
pathways?
neuroplasticity is going to be so that the brain has an optional point of connection between an event or an experience and how you respond from the conscious mind and the body.
I just got the message of you're just bypassing the old system and creating a new one. That's what I got told.
Well, yeah. That's great. I mean, I think that's said perfectly.
Thank you, my guides. Thank you. It was just like, oh, okay, I understand now. And how did you come how did you come across spiritual astrology? I'm assuming it's like a twist of kind of a different level of the normal astrology most people are familiar with.
Yeah. So I studied, got into it when I was very young, 18 years old. I read the book Judah Krishnamurti's Think on These Things, and that promoted me to think that I can think for myself, so that all condition, all religion, all spiritual concepts were of my choosing. And that I grew up in Virginia Beach around the Edgar Cayce Foundation. So there's a big metaphysical community there. And so I got a reading from an English astrologer, and she knew about me things that I said, there's no way she can know that. I mean, that totally interested me. And of course, as the years went by and I started studying metaphysics and realizing that metaphysically and spiritually, you come to an understanding that everything is a spiritual connection. So obviously, when you're looking at energy, astrology, and how it is working in your life, spirituality, then now you have an understanding of the way that energy is pure and how you had best use that energy to create less conflict in your life. And of course, we come in this lifetime for a purpose, self-realization. We all come in for the same exact purpose. And so we all on different paths. We all on different circumstances and events that we need to learn from to make corrections in our perception perspectives of past events and past lives. And so it was just a natural evolution for me. I studied a lot at the Edgar Cayce Foundation and read a lot of his 14,000 readings. And of course, I mean,
Just a
so
couple.
it's, yeah, just a couple. And so that even broadened my scope to go even deeper into metaphysics. And then I met my spiritual teacher in the 90s. Uh, and he was a spiritual astrologer. So I helped me learn from a spiritual perspective about things. He was also deep into studies on the Native American medicine wheel. So I did a lot of Native American medicine wheel studies for a decade and set medicine wheels and learned medicine wheels, which is very astrologically connected because it's about cycles and phases and all those kinds of things, which dovetails right on into astrology.
Yeah. What a beautiful journey and evolution. I love that.
Yeah.
If someone could come to you when they had just a basic understanding or like, okay, I'm going to use me for an example. I'm like, all right, I'm a Cancer sun and I'm a Cancer moon and I'm Aquarius rising. What would be the difference adding in that spiritual element to it?
Well, obviously, a Cancer is going to be a lot of emotions and a lot of feelings. And Cancers process life not from a thinking mode as much as from a feeling mode. And when it turns into an emotion, then it becomes a distorted feeling in most cases if it's not love, joy, peace, happiness, and so forth, harmony. So, cancers are here to learn how to control the emotions. And in so doing, broadens their and deepens their emotional identity, so to speak, their security, emotional security, and so on. So, Cancer is on an evolutionary path to uh, become, if it's a Cancer sun, to become more of that true nature of Cancer, which is empathy and caring and family. And so Cancer's got I got a special place in my heart for Cancer as a Capricorn because I, I can cut emotions off pretty easy, but as an Aries moon, I can go from zero to emotional craziness in about 0.2 seconds. The wonderful thing about the Aquarius rising is your instincts help you to disconnect before they get out of control, because Aquarius is very good at separating from whatever they're experiencing, at least so they can be a little more mental, a little more thinking, a little more logical, and get a conscious perspective about things before the emotions run rampant and get you in trouble.
It's very true.
You
Yeah,
know,
especially
most people don't realize that. I mean, they say, "Oh, well, I'm a Cancer sun." Well, yeah, but what is your moon? Well, of course, you're a Cancer moon, so you're a double Cancer. So
Mhm.
one of the first things I'd want to know is that a Cancer on the balsamic side or the news side? And the balsamic side is now being much more intuitive and allowing that psychic energy to be much more guiding than in the new, which would be the crab going out to search for new things and excite.
Well, I believe I was born on a new moon. I believe. I think I was. Anyway, I can't
Well, was
confirm
it
that.
new? Well, but so you would have to know. I mean, do you think you're more of an explorer?
I do like to create new things. I do like to
So you're an explorer. And so you're really trying to create a whole new paradigm in the
Yes.
way your cancer is manifested, not from an old way of trying to play safe, trying to be in a close-knit environment, trying to keep that family unit as your protection mechanism instead of going out in the world and being a crab.
Yeah, and it's interesting you say that because there's this tendency where I want to just stay at home and be the homebody, but then there's a bigger urge in me where I'm like, no, I want to go out, I want to see the world, I want to do this, I want to create new things, I want to create parallel schooling, like all these sorts of things. So that makes perfect sense what you're saying, but I have never
Well, I
been told it from
mean,
that perspective. So thank you.
see, cancer wants to explore the environment.
Mm,
Now, at the first sign of trouble, they are
run
running
home.
back to the shell.
That's why we make sure it's got a good protection around it.
Yeah, that's why you don't ever stray too far from the shell.
No, no. No. And it's interesting too, because when I feel unanchored in my home, then I feel really unstable everywhere else. I still need to have that stability with that home and the crab shell, if you will. I still need to have that
Uh-huh.
stability. Otherwise, I don't feel safe to go out and explore, and I don't feel safe to go out and just take all the risks that I do take when I'm stepping into those newer paradigms.
Well, I mean, cancer needs their space. I call them nesters. They got to have a nest that they can go, enjoy and be peaceful without so much emotional, psychic energy coming to them and overwhelming them, because they can get overwhelmed pretty darn quick. And
Yes.
so it's very important to have your space. And I always tell cancers, look, you need a fountain in the home and you need a fountain everywhere you go, because you need to hear water. That's very grounding and very calming and soothing.
I love this because we're currently like 90 minutes from the beach and all I want to do is move to the beach. Like
Yeah.
it's just this deep urge. I need the water. I need the water
Yeah.
for so many reasons, but I need the water. But I love this perspective. And is this what people can expect? I know you've written a book called Soul Fusion Healing. Is this kind of what they can expect in the book, or is it completely different?
Well, no, it's, whether you're talking about the Hermetic principles or you're talking about astrology or you're talking about neurolinguistic programming or hypnosis or subconscious mind, I mean, it's all in there. The unique thing about my book is that I have put in the quotes from enlightened beings down through history, from Marcus Aurelius and Stoicism, from Albert Einstein. Although there's so many enlightened people that it just didn't come from Jesus Christ, if you're a Christian, or it didn't come from just Buddha. It didn't come from just Lao. It didn't come from just Plato or Aristotle. So we've had enlightened beings down through history, as well as we have some pretty darn good enlightened beings right now, because we're all going through a huge shift in consciousness with Pluto going into Aquarius, and the air is going to be much more important than water. Air is mental. So the amount of mental energy that's going to shift and change of consciousness is going to be way further than I can explain or anybody can explain at this point, because all we can go by is yesterday's to have definitions. But the definitions of the future are just huge, just vast. And as bad as it sometimes seems, maybe in this country, maybe not so much in Australia or around some places around the world, it's the transformational process. And so I do a lot of explaining of that process in the book. And then, look, you have to be responsible for who you are. You have to make choices for who you choose to be. You have to make, You have to use your universal laws to understand where you are in error, where where your conditioning and programming has been in error that you continue to follow. So I go through all of that, plus the 200 quotes of giant minds. And so I explain everything, all of my learning for over 50 years.
Yeah. What a wealth of wisdom. I find it interesting how you were sharing the shift in the mental thoughts and the processes and things like that, because it seems to be people are questioning more, which is really beautiful to see. It's not a blatant acceptance of a narrative anymore. It's these questions and pushback. And I feel it's just this level of discernment has started to increase as the consciousness, collective consciousness is increasing, because people aren't blatantly just saying yes anymore. We went through that, and now we're shifting into this. No, actually, let's question that. Why is that happening? Why is that going on? What's that happening there? And then we've also got a lot of the ancient technology. A lot of us are getting gifted that information as well, or, being able to re-tap into it. I know for me personally, all of a sudden I can tap into the ancient Isis lineage and tap into their knowledge. So it's like these different aspects are all coming together to shift. And so when you said that mental aspect, I was like, oh, that makes perfect sense, where everyone's thoughts are starting to shift and the beliefs are starting to shift, because the old belief systems are crumbling. They can't hold up anymore as the frequency shifts.
Yeah. So what's that make you do? It forces you internally, because your answers lie within. Everybody has their own healing within them. Healing does not come from the outside. It comes from the inside. And so when you connect with that higher sense of self, your higher self, instead of your ego mind, well, then now you can come into alignment. And there's a chemical process that actually goes on with that in the brain that is corrected to correct illness, disease on the physical side. And the emotions are going to have to be corrected by a different perception. Instead of feeling like it's happened to me, it's happened for me. That would be another way of thinking about it.
I love that. Yeah.
When we think about events, we have to think about it as opportunities to grow and learn. And as the systems break down, we'll have to move more on depending on ourselves. And depending on ourselves means listening to our feelings, listening to our intuition, and developing those qualities to where we can get answers from the higher consciousness.
Yeah, beautifully said. And I always tell people, honor your truth, because your truth might not be the same as your truth, Marvin. My truth isn't the same as somebody else's. And so when you're constantly looking externally to get that validation back, being someone that's quite intuitive, my lesson in life at the moment is trust. I don't necessarily get the feedback that I want, because I just have to trust and just wait. And sometimes it might be a year or 2 years, or in some cases I don't get the validation or the feedback, or it might come much later in life. I don't know, but it all comes from trusting that internal wisdom, right?
Well, ultimately, that's emotional security, isn't it?
Yes, thank you. We're circling back to my Cancer here.
See, but you see how beautifully it works? I mean, you've just explained the process that you go through. See, I had somebody ask me on a podcast one time, he says, well, how does it feel to be enlightened? I said, oh dear, I'm not enlightened. I have to confront every moment in time. I have to confront my personality and characteristics against universal law. And let me tell you something, just about the time you think you've got it figured out, here it ramps it up just a little more, and you go, oh my God. Self-realization is a process. And it takes a lot of years, a lot of lifetimes, and a lot of hard work on yourself just to realize that you hold the answers to every issues in life. And, one of the major pieces is to really realize the conscious mind's connection is to the body. So the body responds to the conscious mind. Well, when that occurs, that body is read by the subconscious mind, which is 8,000 times more powerful than the conscious mind, or 8 million or whatever it is. And that is the true place of manifestation, visualization, so on, and the the opportunities to make the corrections in your life, make the adjustments. And so when people just learn that they've got to control their conscious thinking, that's a big deal. And it's very difficult to teach, and it's very difficult to learn, and it must be practiced every day, all the time.
I know exactly what you're talking about, because when you're stuck in that negative thought loop, it can be really hard to pull yourself out. And it's only when you start to master that you go, hang on a minute. And I think the best thing I learned was saying, cancel, cancel, cancel. No, we're not having that. We're unplugging from that and we're doing this instead. But it takes a lot of training and really awareness of yourself too. And the more you get to know yourself, which is why I always say to my clients, like, hey, do you know your astrology? Do you know your numerology? Do you know your human design? Whatever, because it's just another tool to help you understand how you are stepping forward in life. Because if you don't understand yourself, like you said to me, like emotions, want to rule and that sort of thing. But then the Aquarius comes in and goes, no, we need to use our brain here. Hang on a minute. This is where I need to understand that for my balance. But if I didn't understand myself enough to catch it in that moment, then you just think, oh, there's something wrong with me, or what's going on, or whatever it might be, rather than accepting this is how I am. This is how I chose to be incarnated right now in this moment.
Well, and so that leads me into what I teach the most is self-talk. Self-talk is the biggest destroyer of the human condition. Dr. David Hawkins talked about, and he was the great kinesiologist, kinesthetics with measuring your muscle strength. When you speak in negative terms, you lose 50% of your muscle strength in your body. Think of that for a second. So negative self-talk is the biggest hurdle tremendous amounts of my clients have to overcome. So I spend a lot of time on listening to their language and listening to how they talk to themselves or about themselves, which is the destroyer of, your ego consciousness to where you don't feel good about yourself. And I mean, you can drive yourself right on down into the worst possible place you can be by negative self-talk.
100%. And, especially when we're tired, and that's what I tell people. If you're tired and if you're feeling exhausted or if you're really hungry, those thoughts tend to just pick up, like things that you normally don't care about. All of a sudden, it's like, for me, why did my husband leave this bottle of water for me to fill up again? Why can't he just do that? Whereas when I'm not exhausted, I was like, oh yeah, fair enough. I'll just go fill the water up. It's just clearly he just didn't do it because of whatever, I got distracted or whatever. But when I'm in that tired state, why do I have to do everything? Like the ego is just like, yeah, let's go for it. But if you can pull yourself out of that and just realize, actually, no, I just need to go to bed. It can be really, really powerful.
Well, and another thing is a lot of it comes from conditioning. I loved Ken Keyes in his book when he talked about before the age of 21, you've been told 60,000 times who you are, who they are, what the world is, and your place in it. Well, that's called conditioning and programming. Conditioning and programming is the language that you use. That is the great destroyer of who you are. So I say by the time you're 20 years old, now it's your time for the rest of your life to break the conditioning and the patterning and programming of your upbringing, your programmers, your mother, your father, your teachers, your siblings, your friends, society, and whoever you hold on a pedestal. These are all programmers. That takes you away from your individualism, your own sense of independence, and your own sense of creativity for limitations. I mean, think about the person when they were a child that heard, "Oh, you're just like your father." So now when they become an adult, they have an expectation of being like their father and doing all of his negative crap in their adult life. And so all that stuff has to be broken up and modified to where you choose who you choose to be and what you choose to think and believe.
Yes, 100%. And it's really beautiful because your episode will air after an episode we were just talking about healing the ancestral line. So beautiful serendipity there, right? Because it is like, this is, everyone says that we're kind of the cycle breakers. We've come here to stop that cycle of carrying the wounds, carrying the things that, in our DNA, and keep those spirals going, and, change our timelines, change the trajectory of things. But in the end, it all circles back to, it's your choice if you want to do it or not. You don't have to. But as I said to my spiritual mentor, why would I want to come here and do all this again? Why would I want to?
Well, I mean, a lot of what we go through is about healing family dynamics.
100%.
I mean, that's just epigenetics. And so, that dovetails into understanding that all time is one. There is no separation. This is just because you're experiencing it linearly doesn't mean that it is. It's all now. So when you heal you, I tell everybody that when you heal you, you heal your family of the past, you heal your family of the future, you're healing your family dynamics. And so, if you want to take that burden on, well, then fabulous. And if you don't want to take that burden on, well, then send it to your brother or sister and the next guy.
I'll just leave a note for my next incarnation.
Yeah, I'll leave a note for my next life to take this matter on for seriously.
I had a friend, and she was having this moment with her daughter, and she was responding really unusually. And she realized that it wasn't her responding, it was all the generations of women before her. And she just yelled out, like, really powerfully, "I cancel this karmic line. I am done. It is done." Like, it was just a full. And she went into the bathroom and looked in the mirror, and she said all these faces of all the women and the lineages before her just
That's
cleared.
wild.
And she said, "I canceled all the karma." I said, "Did you ask for the good karma to stay?" She goes, "I realized that the next day. So I'm out in the garden going, the good karma's okay. The good karma's okay." Believe that, come back. But it can be that powerful, and it can be that quick. And because, our timelines are accelerating, it doesn't have to be you sit and wallow in these things as long anymore. You can actually just choose to step out of it and be who you want to be or desire to be, and no longer have to sit in that karmic cycle and loop anymore. It is that beautiful energy that we're in, that you can just cancel it and step out of it. It's like, oh, I'll just shed that suit and go into the next one.
Well, and that's a lot of what my astrology works with too, is family dynamics. Especially, you may have a family of weak women. You may have a family of strong women and weak men. So, I mean, those dynamics show up in a chart. And so it's helpful sometimes to help people understand don't be beating up the mother and the father. They're doing the exact job that you requested them of them before you came in, to lay the groundwork for what you're going to work on to create for your own life as an adult. And so I talk about that and get people to understand. I mean, I just had a client yesterday. Oh, yeah, I had a terrible childhood. And so I explained why he had a terrible childhood, because he's worked so hard to build a solid foundation for his current children and himself. I said, well, don't you see that that's the gift?
The
So
blessing.
the conditioning and the programming is a gift of opportunities for you to be a better person and more self-realized. When you look at it like that, then you can do a little more forgiveness of.
Yeah. And you learn to forgive the unforgivable, you know, because
Yes.
you can see the blessing in it. And a lot of
So then,
people, yeah, go.
so then you don't write the book, Mommy Dearest.
And also you take your power back. People don't realize forgiveness is actually you
Yeah,
taking your power back.
most definitely.
And you know, this is the thing. You know, it's not forgive and forget. I like to remind people, you do not forget because you need to learn from it, but forgive and move on. You know, it's done. Let it be.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
So that's the beautiful part of, I mean, and I did a lot of regression back in the 80s when it was really popular with all those hippies. And so, it's very interesting when you go into regressions that the script is flipped sometimes, and they kind of get that idea of how they participated in the things that they're so distraught about in this lifetime. And they participated on the other side. So, whether you do regression or whether you do an understanding of how you're talking, or whether you're changing your programming and your conditioning or discovering it, these are important matters in helping you come to self-realization. And then that takes work. It takes work to be a good person.
Well, it's a choice every day. It's a choice. How do I want to show up in the world?
How about every moment?
Every moment. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And then having the compassion and forgiveness for yourself when you stuff up, because it's going to happen.
Well, and not only that, to realize that, there's there's only one, all is one, and the one is the creator of all. And so who makes you boss when there's only one creator? So it helps to understand that the creation is the creation for a reason and a purpose. And I love David Hawkins when he talked about this world, of all its complications and all the problems and all the things that we go through, gives opportunity to all 7 billion people to grow in their own need and experience what they personally need. Not what you think they need, but what they need to learn to become self-realized. And I think that's the way we got to look at life, whether it's war, whether it's a breakdown of society, no matter what it is.
Yeah. Beautiful.
I
Beautiful.
I was talking to the client yesterday. I mean, the breakdown of society is a gift. And the gift is it forces us to move inward, because we can't depend on the outside circumstances.
Yes.
That's a beautiful thing.
And it's also that learning to be neutral in those situations so you don't react and get sucked
Yeah.
into something that's not yours.
Yeah, you ought to try being an Aries and be neutral.
I'm married to one.
What a blessing.
What a blessing.
Just
the
about the
emotional
time,
cancer. Yeah.
just the time you think you're over emotional and that Aries kicks in with about 3 times the wattage, you go, hold on.
I always say to him, I said, you have this tendency that when you can see the red light flashing and you know not to push it, you will push it. And I said, and not just push it, but you will run up and slam your hand on it.
Yeah, hit it with a bat.
Exactly. And he's like, because my son's a Saggy. And so he's just like, he's a little bit more like me as well. And we both just sit there and we're like, why would you do that? Why? We've told you we're not in the best mood and you just go in and poke it a bit more, just poke it a bit more. But that's the fun and dynamics and the blessing of being challenged and extended.
So you said your son was a Sagittarius?
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know.
Well, he's the philosopher.
He is a little sage. Said 100%.
Yeah. So
he is.
And so he's like you in the intuitive side because it's higher consciousness, but he's a philosophical sagey, so that he can string together concepts of why. And that's very helpful in helping people understand instead of the sound bites or little tidbits of truths, because those philosophies need to be put together as a whole.
And he takes in everything. Even when you think he's not listening, he's taking it all. Like Vulcan hearing. That's what we used to say. Like Vulcan.
See, he thinks in pictures.
Yes, he does.
And so if when you're analyzing things out, he's getting a picture. And it's very fast because it's fire. So he's a little bit fire like your husband, but he's quite a bit intuitive like you. And that allows to a nice balance between the two of you by putting it all together in a picture.
Which is beautiful. Beautiful. That is a beautiful description of him. 100%. Thank you. Thank you, Marvin. And as we start to finish our time together, we could talk about so many things. I know.
Here we could go on for days.
I know. But I asked the guests that come on the show, if you could heal or change something in the world, what would it be?
Well, it's perfect. I ain't got no business changing anything except me. Live in the now. Live in intuition and feelings. That's for every individual that's alive.
Amazing. Thank you. And if people want to come and work with you, Marvin, or come and find your book, where can they go?
Amazon. Amazon has the book, Soul Fusion Healing, Integrating Body, Mind, and Soul. And they can always get me at astromarv.com. They can get me at blhypnosis.com and put Marvin in front of it, and you can email me. Marvin at astromarv.com.
Amazing.
And I do like to do Zoom readings. And so I'm at the great inflection of joy in my life at this point in my life. It's not so a struggle to grow as it is to just simply enjoy everything as it is.
And glow. I don't know why that came in. It's like, it's not a struggle to grow. It's just time to glow. There you go. But thank you, Marvin. I'll pop all those details in the show notes. So please feel free to follow Marvin, connect with him, get his book. It is on Kindle Unlimited. And I know that because I just added it to my reading list. So if you would like to have a reading with Marvin, please check him out. Otherwise, with our podcast, like, share, subscribe, and please show your love and share this with anyone who you feel might resonate. So thank you, Marvin, for your insights and sharing just a glimpse of all your wisdom that you've accumulated in your beautiful journey as a human on Earth.
Well, thank you, Catherine. It's been quite the joy to participate with you and meet you.
Are you looking for an afternoon boost to support you until the children go to bed or to get through that evening meeting? Why not reach for a cup of ceremonial cacao? It will boost your energy, reduce your inflammation, and also allow you to go to sleep at a decent hour. For more information on how to grab your ceremonial cacao, check out the link in the show notes for 10% off.
Thank you for listening to Willow Healing Matters, the podcast. We have so much love and gratitude that you have taken the time out of your day to empower you on your healing journey. The views shared by the person being interviewed might not necessarily reflect that of the host and should be used at your own discernment. Trust what resonates for you and follow your heart and soul guidance. If you have any underlying medical conditions or mental health issues, please consult with your healthcare provider before pursuing any of the recommendations. Likewise, you can always contact the person being interviewed to find out more information. This can be found in the show notes. Remember to activate, align, heal, empower, and find love in everything that you do.